Yeah, if we want to go and get started, David, let's do it. I'll hit record and we can
Fantastic.
get going.
Fantastic. Well, again,
Perfect.
thank you, Nuke, for making this happen, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Um, the idea around the space really it's structured this way because of Nuke words describing his experience with his grandfather, and that really resonated with me, and really felt familiar as a, a an artist space, as a place where everything is just there laid out. We generally work much on the computer, particularly in algorithmic art, and it's not as a painter's bodega that you have art materials and dirt and mess everywhere. That so this really is a bit of a reflection of that sentiment, of that will, and that mind space that really summarize what is the work routine that we do in front of the computer. Um, the first work I wanted to really to touch on was Broken Memories, simply because it's the first project I shared on Web3, and it's the first project I, in a way, strategized after 6 months of lingering in the space and trying to figure out, what would I want to bring, or what side of my practice would I want to bring into the space. I'm not a programmer. I don't have a great experience in programming as a profession. I've been coding as an amateur level simply because I'm an architect, and in visualizations and in architecture there is a level of coding, but nothing like creating programs to generate art. So this was really like an initial work, an initial experiment, which wanted to be more on my personal side rather than a skill based or strongly algorithmic based type of work. And nothing felt closer than speaking about what were my past memories. I don't have a clear um, recollections of my youth in a way. Some people really remember details of when they were children. For me, it's somehow it's blurry. It's more about feelings that real facts. And these feelings are what I carried on and carry through to this date. So in this way, that felt a very relevant and important side that I wanted to, in a way, capture and picture in my artistic practice. So these works are almost time capsules of moments that I recollect in a very blurry way. And I hope this translates into the work, as the images are quite abstract, which then will set what is the main direction of my work. And they feel aged, they feel a bit rough. The pixel is really pushed and distorted to the level of almost losing the quality. And this is what I really wanted to come across with this series. It was really interesting because it was my first work, was an object, and it was welcome in a community or in a group of people that I really really enjoyed, and that was particularly encouraging. And that's really what led me to invest more time and effort into sharing work in Web3. Um, what to tell about the specific work? Each one of it really reminds me of a particular moment. Um, this one when I'm just in front, the bottom left. I've been born and grow in a coastal town, a small coastal town. My parents love the sea. My parents love the summer and the beach. So I spend a lot of time just really playing on the shores, and really the line of the horizon and the sun coming down. It's always been a very strong memory and a very strong moment where my mind was running free. Since I was a child, I was really like imagining all sorts of stories, all sorts of game, just looking at the horizon and looking at the sun coming down and the stillness of the scene, but at the same time the very animated nature of it, the sea, the people, everything that was moving around, and this really is something that I wanted to capture in this sense. It was something that really felt very the link to what is my childhood years in a sense. Other pieces move through different time and ages. There is this connection with nature, moving on the opposite side. Those are pieces that are a bit more connected towards my teenager years. Actually, my first time into meeting somebody or coming to a realization of my body, of other people's bodies. So it's really this top right, this further right work was really a recollection of my first time with somebody, really my first physical encounter with somebody, and I really like the idea, the sensation of this combination of two entities into one, and I really like the way that this come back into an expression which almost feels vegetations or floral. It's really like a juxtaposition of nature and what is really the chaos of of these moments where you actually mix with somebody without really knowing what's going on, and everything is new and everything feels so natural and everything is just combining in a way that nothing else really does. So this to me also felt really significant, really meaningful, to the point of wanting to capture it on a canvas. And so on. This is a little bit the sense of this work. What else to tell you about it? This
Yeah,
was
no,
really
that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. It's really interesting just to kind of hear one, your story of how you relate to the work, and also just your venture into this unknown Web3 space. And I remember from when we were chatting earlier, you were just talking about how, again, like the sea was really your first canvas. And it's interesting that in this world, your new canvas is really this new technology. It's using computer code to get those emotions out into the world. I guess what about using computer code to you allows you really to unlock those emotions?
well, yeah. And this is like something that I really, I reflect a lot all the time, because obviously it's a very specific medium, and it's something that has some really strong constraints on the physical side. I go against everything that I really crave and want and needs in life, which is like close to nature, and then a more real, tangible, physical expression. Um, and I trade that sitting in front of a computer most of the time. And this is really because I really I find entropy, and I find the randomness of working with algorithms the catalyst of what is that that interests me the most into delving into my psyche. After all, my work it's entirely self-referential. It's I don't. It is what it is. It's just the way that it feels for me. It's really connected to my thoughts, and really connected to my starting off from my memories, but very quickly moving on from what is really my current state of mind, and the things that um, linger the most in my head. Personally, I started focusing more on digital art in a time where I was trying to shift my focus in life, and in the research of or in the search of I don't want to say new meaning, but actually like I was trying to discover more about myself. The support of entropy and randomization has been unlocking so much of my narrative. Again, I'm saying this without much context, but I used to be an architect. I used to work in agencies for more than 20 years. I've done all kind of I've done from architectural works to furniture, to sculptures, to branding, and such and such. And I was in a very structured commercial environment where I apply my creativity, I apply my sense of aesthetics and my sensibility in human perception of physical things in a very commercial way for over 20 years, and that became really frustrating, became really structured, and became something else than myself. So moving away from all the structure that I had in my life and the persona that I created in this path, I ended up uh, discovering the connection that I had with programming, and the connection I had with really working with code through this new unexpected element that I could control to a degree. And this is really the main reason I entirely focus on working with code. I just don't see myself even if I was returning to physical work. I would try to retain this element of randomness within my work.
I love that. No, I think just the juxtaposition of in architecture, I mean, randomness is the enemy, where like you need everything to be so precise. You need to know how everything is going to behave, how it's all going to respond under certain loads. Whereas using like random generative code-based art, you're kind of wishing or hoping for something to surprise you. And I just always find that so interesting. And from I've read multiple articles about like engineers where in their day life, any small bug could literally result in hundreds of millions of dollars loss. It can result in a loss of life. But in art, a small bug can really open the door for amazing explorations to take place. And I think there's just something beautiful about that within art. And I think that's why all of us, or so many of us, have really gravitated towards this because, I mean, life is random. Like, we, in our modern society, try to put up as much structure as possible. But at the end of the day, entropy takes place. And I think there's real beauty in that with code. And I mean, Mother Nature is all about randomness. So, I mean, the combination of code and Mother Nature is definitely something that I know both of us really love and enjoy. And from one of the posts that you did earlier in the week, I think there's just so much organic field, and we can maybe walk around the space if there's maybe an area that you want us to explore, kind of that combination of Mother Nature and code. I think maybe
Yeah.
this like back wall here, because these have like a really interesting organic structure. And just the more that I've learned about generative art, just the more that Mother Nature starts to make sense to me, because it seems like she just coded our world.
Yeah, again, it's to me, it's a very interesting lead into this next topic. And obviously, math is the closest way we have managed to rationalize and replicate what is the true processes of nature. For me, one of randomness. It's not entirely about discovering something new out of my thoughts, but it's really trying to connect to what I feel is a true balance or true nature, for lack of better words, of things. And as you said, in nature, this happened because there is a combination of random elements that follow some overall rules. And similarly, what we can emulate or imitate, with math is it's as inspiring to both in terms of processes for the ones that that they're able to look at the code running through numbers and phases, and both as well as into visual expressions of this. This specifically, it's a little bit more towards my interest in parallel truth or parallel natures. I've always been into sci-fi because I found it a very humanistic expression of what are the things that we cannot explain. There is an element of true in it. There's an element of tangible, but then there is some parameters within it that twist the reality of every day and make it special, create a parallel world to it. This work particularly, it's really strongly inspired by what is that, my sort of my interest for what is has been sci-fi books and movies growing up and throughout the paces, as well as questioning where we're heading in terms of society, or where I find myself moving towards. There is a symbiosis between technology and human, which is obviously very tangible for all of us, and literally months after months become more of a reality. So this exploration, and again, this is some pieces from Prometheus and some ramification of that work. It's really a play of what could really be a being, an entity that start to combine these different elements, carbon based and silicon based entities together. Um, Again, utilizing some basic algorithms that replicate what is the course of nature, but more than anything, trying to evoke this form of life, which is a take on obviously on Geiger, and what is the overall image that we have of sci-fi of creatures and nature, living into what is the patterns and texture that are part of my work and my practice.
That's so interesting. And yeah, just looking at all of these pieces together, first of all, I just love how just the way that you set up this wall. I think there's just so much to take in, and kind of just viewing them all as one, you can just kind of feel these works coming to life. Like the ones in the background there just looks like it's like the skeletal structure of this organism. And then you can see like more on the micro level, like all the different cells that are acting together to kind of bring it to life. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just so interesting, the combinations, or just thinking about code in Mother Nature. Because I mean, like, she has perfected her craft over millions or billions of years. But artists, when they're going through algorithms and they're refreshing and generating outputs and going through that same process, I mean, there's a lot of parallels between the evolutionary process of our world and that of the generative art system doing its thing and finding what you're looking for. And I just find that to be so interesting, and continues to really makes me just question so much more about like what else is there to explore. I guess, like, from your perspective, like, where else do you think this rabbit hole can go within your art practice?
For me, what I find extremely fascinating, it's really is this dichotomy between um, a very inner and deep thought and very human physical connections that translate into the application of of numbers into a machine, and translate it into something that then converts into back into something very human, very that resonates very much with emotions, which have nothing to do with what is been the medium and the and the real pace of the medium. So I found extremely fascinating these aspects, and I'm so hooked that I cannot I cannot express myself in different ways, and I think that the way my practice has been growing and shifting towards this direction can only be exponentially moving further and further into like bouncing between what is really like very um, ethereal and an intangible idea, going through something which is very mathematical and physical and calculated, and then shifting away into something that, again, it's a matter of opinion, a matter of sensations, a matter of feelings. So this really is something very strong into my that resonate very strongly into my practice. And again, and it's something that really bound me to working with algorithms. Nowadays we have AI, and nowadays we have plenty of tools, but I personally just do not resonate with any of these, because I find this very close to what is what makes me tick in terms of expression, as well as we keep mentioning the theme of nature. And to me, nature is, again, I don't mean the flora, but I mean really the cosmos. I mean everything that surrounds us, and the existence and the rules that they move gravity, they move theories, and they are untangible and and not matter of opinion. So to me, this is really the complex of things that really draw me to working with code, and keeps me obsessed with it in any possible way.
No, I love that. I mean, just this rabbit hole is endless. Like it will and for those that are interested like us. It's really exciting to see what else is out there and to continue exploring. So love all of that. I guess if we rewind a little bit, I was just curious from your kind of history of generative art. Obviously, you started making it, but was there a piece before then that you saw maybe of another artist where you're like, yeah, I want to be doing this?
Mm, Not in generative art, to be honest. I I think probably the closest piece of art that really made me, yeah, has influenced my work is the work of Chris Cooksey. I don't know if you're familiar with him. It's an American artist. They create sculptures, but they're extremely detailed, and they start off as as a sort of a monolith. And as you go closer, you can see like thousands of small figurines in different scales. The different different themes, different areas. So it's fundamentally a very very detailed sculpture that has a first impression, and as you get closer, you get to understand and learn the details of everything. To me, this was something that really fascinated me, and at the time when I was making sculptural pieces myself, I was in a very different mindset. The work was really reflecting, again, myself, and it was very brutalist for to simplify the expression of it at the maximum. So I went really from really clear, sharp line intersecting in a very minimal way, being very fascinated and obsessed with the detail, with the growth of a first impression that was really revealing more and more as you were looking. The more you give into the piece, the more you look into the piece, and the more you understand, or the more you get out of it in a way. And so this to me was really like a main focus. And again, because I was using I was using some Python in my parametric work in architecture. This really led me to start building into this. More specifically, as I said, I was an object. So again, at the time, yes, Kubibi obviously was the obsession of everybody, but that to me almost was obviously it's incredible work, and it's fantastic. It's a fantastic artist and reference for anybody opening into generative art, but it was almost too close to what I'm interested to be beneficial. Um, so this work in itself, I guess that could have gone further if I was maybe in a different space. But being an object, this felt again the development that could hold its own without really crossing path too closely to what it was, to the world they created.
No, thank you for sharing all that, and I'll definitely have to look up that sculpture that you were mentioning. Yeah, I would love for after I'll definitely ask for some of your favorites for us to take a
I'll,
look at, and I can, yeah, post some links so everyone can
I'll,
take a look. So
I'll
that sounds
type
really
it.
interesting.
I can type it. I can type it here on the chat maybe if anybody wanna have.
Perfect. No, I appreciate that. I just wrote it down so I can look it up afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh,
Again,
perfect.
incredible stuff. Like really, really incredible stuff.
Amazing. Well, let's continue walking around here because we've got so much art to look at and chat about. I guess the one that really stood out to me over here was this black hole. So maybe we can use this as our reference point and kind of go from there.
Sure, sure. Well, again, yeah. Before touching on this, I think that what has been really fantastic about creating this space has really been trying to connect all my work, which is very different in themes and subjects. It really felt coming together of all my ideas, and in a way rationalizing the maze of my mind and all the various facets and aspects that interest me into something that can be overarching, a subject or a practice in itself. So that has been a really, again, just as a side note, has been a really fantastic opportunity to, to display my idea, my thoughts in a way that's readable. This specifically is a piece from Dactylogram. Again, this is a piece of work where I tried really to focus on what was the meaning of nature for me and how he affects my daily life in a way. Um, I, I found this work I found this work really grounding. I found this work really meditative, and what I wanted really to represent was the interplay between the micro and the macro, the cosmos and the microbial world, and drawing the inner world of us human in between, and try really to combine what is that, or at least create a sense of interplay between the oneness of things. I know this sounds a little bit, you know, Zen, which I'm not. But it's really the interconnection of things that really interested me into this work, and I had the opportunity really to push what was the detail within this. So as I was just saying, really there is this overall composition that as you get closer, and again here probably we can really appreciate it as it is, because the definition of the images is not as high. But you can really get to explore a number of different artwork and composition within the same work. And again, this could be, again, to me, this one day is evocative of looking up in the sky, and another day, depending on the angle, depending on what I focus my eyes first, I might capture something that I've seen on, walking in the forest the other day. So this is really the core idea of inspiration for the work. What I really wanted, or what I really imagined, was really to create like a very large scale piece that can be explored in through time, and give the opportunity to find new details and new element as you go.
No, that's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I think there's so much of this within your work where there's just art within art, there's beauty within beauty. And again, when you think of our natural world, it's, yeah, the forest could be beautiful, but then you look at the trees, you look at the bark, you look at the leaves and the veins in the leaves, and you just like, keep going down and down, and there's just more to explore. There's just more questions that pop up. And I think that's definitely something that I always kind of think about when I'm exploring your work. And when we were kind of setting up for this, is you look at this in high resolution and you just keep zooming in, you keep zooming in, and there's just more and more in there. And I think that's some of my favorite things in art overall. It's like whether it's a song, like on the surface, like a song can just sound a certain way or make you feel a certain way, but then you can explore the words, you can explore the deeper meanings, and there's just so much there and so many potential answers just waiting to be found. And I think that's why I love art so much, is because like it just keeps going. There's always something more to be found. There's always something more to learn. And I think your work does a beautiful job of really exploring that.
It's incredibly encouraging, and I really really appreciate that you picking up on this, because from my perspective, it's always very difficult to convey, or at least to hoping that the perception of the work is goes in this direction. So I appreciate it incredibly, and I'm very grateful for for you to make the time and explore the work.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, this has been such a joy so far. And this actually kind of reminded me of a moment in the first walk and talk that I did with ADHD, who's not only an amazing visual artist, but he's also a member of many bands. And he was mentioning just like on the surface level, a lot of his songs like can have just like a kind of like a poppy hook to get in like the more general like just somebody flipping through on Spotify, but then for the true fans that want to get like down into the weeds, there's something for everybody. And I think it's similar to you. It's just a matter of how much effort you want to put into it. But just like anything in life, like the more you put into something, the more that you can get out. And I think there's definitely a depth here. I mean, as we just scan through the room, where there's just so much to explore.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And I found, for example, that to me the blockchain, I'm not particularly focused or drawn by what is the technology for the sake of the technology, but I always come from a perspective which is maybe a little bit more traditional. I love digital art and I love sharing through the web, but one of the aspects which has been attracting me the most to work in this medium really has been the capability of layering um, a narrative or a thought of my ideas, layering them through the medium, a series of work in itself, which again, it's you can think about 1,000, 10,000, 200, 100 pieces. It's already a narrative and a story that you can hardly get in other mediums. And then going down to each piece, you can refine the narrative, you can refine the story, you can refine what is the idea that you try to convey, and so on. Looking deeper into the work, I really appreciate that the way that I can express, or I can find reasons, or I can find connections, and going deeper into the work. And this has been really it's been really refreshing. I really enjoyed it. I spent so much time into thinking about stuff and having the possibility to give thought on so many layers. It's just what I like to do and just what I find most satisfying. It's just that in Web3, I'm not sure this really clicks as much. I don't think this is the medium. No, I wouldn't say Web3. I would say that maybe social media is not the medium for this type of narratives, where everything is a lot more snappy, a lot more immediate, and the response is a lot more back to forth. But at the same time, again, yeah, he has so many pro of being able to expand into a wider audience that in a way it works. He found the space also in that the social media realm.
Yeah, I mean, I think for social media in general, I mean, like Twitter itself is not made for showing art. I mean, like I was mentioning before, for like Twitter Spaces, like if you're just on audio but you're not seeing the art, that's not really doing a service to the artist. And like when I'm uploading images and it's compressing it so much where you can't even see the details, again, that doing a disservice to the artist. So, I mean, I think most people would agree that Twitter is not the right like avenue for like actually viewing the art, but I do think it's extremely helpful as a distribution channel to connect to people from all over the world to kind of get an idea of what's going out there. But I think something like this, where we're both viewing the art, we're talking about it in detail, different like art blocks weekend is going on right now, and I'm sure there's really in-depth conversations and workshops going down there. And I think combination of both, like there's going to be new technologies that unlock kind of more of these, I think just like maybe more genuine conversations and ways to appreciate the art as time goes on. I don't think Twitter is that, but it's what we have right now just to kind of get the ball rolling. And I don't think for many artists, Twitter is the best way to really get what the work means to you out there. And again, I'm trying to do my part to to allow you to have the stage to have that conversation. But I think as time goes on, we'll definitely see more opportunities, more unlocks for artists to really kind of get their word out and allow people to connect even deeper with their work. But going back to the concept of just the blockchain as a technology, I mean, I just think so much like we're so caught up in like the next big thing for blockchain, but I think just the simple thing of you minting a piece at a certain point in time and that being there forever is so powerful and so important. I mean, when you look at like carbon dating, going back to Mother Nature, it's like we have an idea of when something took place, but it's not perfect. And like we don't know exactly when what came before what. Whereas for your artwork, you have a moment in time that is on the blockchain that can't be changed, that you know exactly when a work got released and what came next, what came before it. And I think it's a diary that is like set in stone. And I think there's something really powerful and cool about that as an artist where you can see the progression, you can see the evolution, and again, nobody can take that away from you.
Absolutely, I totally agree, and I'm sure that all of us artists and are really enjoying the the build up of this, maybe disillusioned, but the build up to this archive of work that you can really trace back to the first pieces that you minted, up to whichever directions they will develop and so on. And I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. And again, I've been trying to structure my work, my releases, my interaction within the space, with the blockchain, and with social, to a degree, trying to build up, some permanence into the thoughts, into the fil rouge I'm trying to follow. So that's definitely a very unique and then special opportunity.
Love that. Well, let's continue walking here. I want to make sure that we spend enough time on the space in between the project that you released on FX Hash. I think this was, yeah, over the summer back in July. It's crazy that that was
Yeah,
almost half a year ago. But yeah,
yeah,
let's chat about it because I love
yeah.
the mint that I was able to get, and just from looking through the thousands of outputs, just the diversity is unbelievable. And again, when we make that connection to Mother Nature, I mean, there's just so many different forms, shapes, patterns that emerged, and learn a little bit more about that project from you.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I really had a blast. Well, I think that before moving into what is the actually the series in itself, and the artistic intent of the work, for me this was incredibly interesting because in my practice I always love to work on. I always took my artwork as paintings. I always saw them as still paintings, and I love the curation process. I love that. I love the structure, or at least my mental progression into a concept, leading me to releasing a series of work, which up to this point really has been focusing on what is the curated work, and really going through the algorithm, not letting the code to to select the final work, but actually tweaking the code so that I could get the output I desired. I felt right for the concept, for the story that I was trying to carry on. And in this case, actually, I wanted to explore the complete opposite direction. I wanted to give full freedom to the code to develop what it wanted. To the level that I actually haven't chosen even palettes for this series. I set up parameters. I've set up some rules to define the relations between palettes, between colors, but I haven't set up a core palette, which for me has been a big step in a way in letting go, or at least free myself from that part of the process, which was very strongly palette based um, up to this point. That said, I mean the whole concept of this work really was trying to reiterate what is my what is my attractions and my 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 feeling towards nature into into this new light. In this case, I also constrain myself only using P5, which was like an incredible pain because again, so much limit, especially trying to trying to mint the blockchain and getting the code to run. But again, those are the boundaries that really made the projects become really important for me. As you said, he's something that released this summer, and it was really connected to my feeling for this summer. I've been driving a lot recently, and the summer in the Netherlands is it's short. It's a mix of sun and clouds, and summer rains and so on and so on. But the one thing that's really special is the sky. To me, here the sky feels twice as big as anywhere else I've been around, and the cloud formations are so unique and special. They take shapes and forms that are really not that different from anywhere else I've been. I've been traveling quite a lot through my life, so that was really like an initial aspects in terms of aesthetic that I wanted to capture. I wanted really to capture the oddities of the shapes of the clouds in the skies. And then there was the juxtaposition of wanting to create a full range of emotions, a full range of states of mind across the series. I wanted, in a way, to shift a little bit away from what I feel. Maybe it reflects my personality, and it's a bit more like heavy type of work that goes towards like dark tones and dark thoughts and dark situations. I wanted to lighten up a little bit this without completely losing what is the, the other side of my thoughts and consideration. And I think this really worked out fantastically. I'm really proud, of the range of the series. I'm really proud of how it turned up, and yeah, that's about it, really.
Yeah, I'm just admiring the outputs that we have up on the wall here, and like you mentioned, I mean, just it feels like the code really had full reign to do what it wanted to do. But I think that's when sometimes the most surprises happen, where like you have an idea of what's going to come out because you've been running the code for so long, but you just never know when somebody hits mint again. Like the beauty of generative art is, as a collector, you hit mint and you see the artwork before, I mean, sometimes even the artist sees it, and you're part of that
Yeah,
process. And I think there's something so beautiful and so connecting to this type of art. And I think, again, since art, it took a long time for art to truly connect with me, but I think from minting generative art and from being a part of that process, like I felt like this doesn't happen without me. Like I was a part of bringing this piece of work to life, and there's something
yeah,
really powerful about that. And I think just FX hash in general for so many people was that mechanism, was that way to, again, like very low stakes. It was a few tes to mint something, and you got to experience magical feeling of, wow, I brought this artwork to life. And then sharing it online, there's just so many beautiful things that as a full collection, it's like you have this connection now with another person because they minted a project the same one that did, but the outputs might look different, they might look similar. I don't think that matters. It's just you're now part of this community, and there's something super special about this. And I know from the work that you did on this one, and I know this was through base as well, I'm sure there were so many collectors where this could have been their first piece of art that they've ever minted or collected, and they probably connected with art much more that day than maybe they did in the previous. So I think there's really something special about that and something that you should definitely be really proud of as well.
Yeah, I have incredibly mixed feeling, in mixed and opposite feelings about this, because I personally I hate minting on FXH because I never get the mint I want. Again, like on a very basic level. That said, I'm as far as a mentality of our collectors as I can imagine, and this probably it's maybe also the crutch I I rely on a lot whenever I release my work, and things don't go exactly the way I want, or again, or I don't connect with my collectors in the way that I would expect. But I really appreciate the fact that there is an active part in the collectors to be the first to see and then tangibly create or may bring the work to life. But at the same time I always been really really hesitant into allowing the code to carry on the narrative for me. So this was a very thought through and important moment, because again it's really like a moment of letting go, beyond releasing a piece of work. It's really a question of on a personal level to assume the freedom and the responsibility of allowing the code to do its thing. And again, I'm incredibly happy with how things turn up. I'm incredibly appreciative that that there's been more than 1,000 mint of this, because again, this is the way I would have imagined it to complete. If it wasn't if it was ending up in 100 mint, I would have felt very different about it, regardless of the success of the work, but really just as for a personal progression or step into my consideration of working with code. So again, honestly, I don't have I'm really happy for the way it went. I still hate minting randomly because again, it personally I really like to lead the narrative. I like the artist to carry on this role. But in a way, allowed me to maybe to further my artistic view, and and also to understand a little bit more what it means to create art for the Web3, because this is a very specific thing that I have to admit, if you go back to the early works, I didn't fully understand. I didn't fully have a grasp of how. Um, I don't think compromising is the right terms, but you need to really to focus and leverage certain aspects of the technology, and also the perception of people, or the way people interact with the work, to release something that is satisfactory for yourself. And I feel that this was a good start in that direction, even though I don't think I will work again in Justin P5. It's just
No,
it doesn't suit the type of work I like to do, because I really like to go into like details and layer of a layer of elements. I mean, those are triangles, simple as that. And I really like the juxtaposition of something as simple as geometric, uh, becoming something so expressive, and away from that structured um, notion.
no, I completely understand what you're saying. And I mean, as an artist, you view things one way. As a collector, we view things a different way. And again, all of this is so new, and we're all kind of exploring this together, which is exciting. And people have mixed views both artists and collectors about like primary blind mints. And I mean, I'm in the camp where depending on where that price point is, I think I'm more open to getting a random mint. Whereas if
Yeah,
it's going to be a substantial amount of money, I would want to make sure that the output is something that I would want to have in my collection. So I definitely understand both ways. And for a project, maybe on the latter side, it's maybe wait for secondary and then pick one up that maybe I connect with more there. But I do think there's a magic in doing the blind minting, especially for something that isn't for a substantial amount of money. I think there is a magic in that, and part of the performance art is just a really cool, unique, novel idea that this technology offers. So I don't think there's a right
yeah.
answer. I think it's definitely open for interpretation, but I'm always interested to learn how people think about that again, since this is such a new discussion topic that has really only been brought on for a few years now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, again, I don't want to divagate too much on different topics, but to me, it's something that we became a little bit lazy and we became a little bit reliant to the couple of things that have been working for the last couple of years. And I don't feel that we have explored what are the possibilities of using the blockchain. I mean, certainly there are a few North Stars that are really pushing the envelope, but again, even I don't know. I feel it should be more widespread. The artistic exploration and interpretation of what is the sharing work through the blockchain than what we currently do. Personally, an example, I'm trying to give my interpretation, and I'm working currently on on pieces that in a way will capture a little bit more of this. But I feel the interactivity of a collector with the work and the intent of an artist with the work and the freedom of the code to to run and to be understood in the right way has a lot of space, and it's something that we haven't really explored to its fullest.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the exciting part about all of this, where if we're using your artwork as an example, it's still very zoomed out in the macro, and there's just so much more to explore using this technology as we go down more into the work, which again, I'm really excited about what the future brings and incredible artists, ones in the space. Like not only are you exploring these, but also through social media, like we get to see what some of those explorations are. And then maybe the next generation of artists are getting inspired from that. And there's just so much more that we can do, and the momentum that's building through this, I think is really, really special. And again, makes me so excited about what the next 3+ years is going to look like in this space. I know we've got about 5 minutes left, and we still have
Mm.
a good amount of the gallery to get through. So maybe if we wanted to move on over here and chat a little bit about this project here, Primal, and then we can
Sure.
kind of wrap things up, and we can certainly do another one of these down the road. I know there's so much in here, but hopefully those can kind of explore the gallery. And the beauty about on cyber galleries is this will be up for as long as it can be. So if you want to explore the gallery down the road, today, tomorrow, in 5 years, definitely do so. It is waiting for you. So I will turn it over to you, David, to walk us through this last one and kind of take us home here.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Well, Primal for me was particularly meaningful because this was the first project in which I was exploring a theme which wasn't so personal to me, or at least it wasn't so deeply personal. Um, this concept started from the idea of the transposition of tribalism within our digital realm. I've never been a particularly strong with social, and obviously utilizing Twitter for to interact with communities in the art space. And been a relatively new experience over the past couple of years, 3 years. But at the same time, there are some traits of tribalism that I felt really fascinating, and really make bringing my imagination towards what were the early tribalistic um, domains and interactions between human. So Primal really starts off from that aspect, as well as a reaction to what felt a very pretty structure and trend in generative art, where everything was like so well composed, so refined, and so precise. So a little bit as a reaction of this, really the concept developed, and the story in itself, I let my mind really go with this. I let my mind really develop a set of tribes inspired to what is the trying to create a narrative that goes from the animal in itself, the really the primitive animals, and the spark of consciousness, making the first impression in a cave, creating spraying some red dirt on your hand and creating these marks on the cave. To me, that if I think about it, it feels incredibly powerful, and really feels some a point in which I can connect a deliberate act, which is not related to survival, which is not related to coming together in group of animals or people for a benefit of of the species, but it's really a way of communication that I can express in other ways than really the consciousness wanting to express something that is not related to eating, sleeping, reproducing, and such. So that was really the what blew sparks this word into my head. And the series in itself, it's structured into into this journey from the most abstract and let's say lower consciousness type of composition, which we can maybe look here on the left. Those to me feels more again organic, cellular, um, maybe random, and maybe just created by the law of nature, and just gradually moving towards the other side, where we start to see a couple of pieces, or even here the last one on this wall, this red and purple one, where we start to see more defined shapes that I personally feel more related to what is the human mark or the human hand. And those in itself, I categorize them into different tribes, and again, following different palettes based on the imaginarium of these tribes, developing in different areas of the planet, so having different resources, and the palettes relates to what is the various elements within within their environment. Additional to this, personally, I'm always being quite, or at least don't sound in that direction. In my teenage year, psychedelics had an important part, and I am a believer that there is an interesting aspects in altering the normal mind state to understand oneself and their surrounding. So in this, I took the chance to to follow up the narrative that again, pseudoscience that suggests that some of the primitive humans use psilocybin and some attributes really the sparks of communication and language to the use of these substances to create a few of the species that are more inspired to this type of experiences. And again, here, let me have a quick look around. I didn't think this one very well through. The couple of pieces that were more strongly inspired by this maybe are missing, but I think these last two, the red ones, are probably a little bit closer to what is that image. So they're a little bit less hurty, a little bit less, the palettes are a little bit less related to what is the the real natural materials, natural elements of primitive lands are a bit, but they are a bit more focused towards what is imaginarians, or at least the psychoactive vision in itself.
Oh, that's so fascinating. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. This is just I wish we had another 3 hours just to talk about this. We'll have to do it again, but I think there's so much to explore here. And I actually started reading the book Sapiens a few weeks ago that, I mean, talks about kind of the history of humanity, just the history of Homo sapiens and beyond. And I think it's just so interesting from like the first cave painting, trying to understand what that means. And we're still looking at in art and trying to understand what it means today. And just the moral of the story is the human hasn't changed that much, but with technology, so much around us has changed. So I think there's something really interesting about you using this new technology to kind of go back into time and kind of re-explore some of those early tribal cave paintings and kind of what those meanings were. And in the book it mentioned for like Homo sapiens, like the one thing that we do, or one of the few things that we do differently than any animal, is believe in fictitious things. So whatever that may be, like what is a company? Like a company isn't a real entity. It's a made up thing. And I think there's something beautiful about kind of exploring this fictitiousness of the world around us. And I think, I mean, the feeling of art, like there's nothing there, but it's clearly extremely powerful. And what makes humans so interesting and unique and fascinating, and using it as this communication tool, but also just using it as an outlet to express ourselves. Like there's just so much that art can do. And I think this project really embodies that and encapsulates that everythingness that art can really offer us.
Yeah, thanks. I love it. I mean, I think it's a beautiful circle. It's a beautiful loop that closes, because to me, the start of all of it is really consciousness in itself. What really differentiate us from, or at least elevate us to the next level of evolution, if you want to say. But then you can have language, you can have all the various elements or traits that can map the development of what we are today. And art in itself, it really becomes at its essence. It has no purpose, or at least a conception of art, as I see it today. It has no other purpose that really convert emotions, a story, and a narrative to another being, without the interest of a functional a functional interaction. It's not meant to save your life. It's not meant to make you healthier. It's not meant to make you, to tell you a tangible story, but something that really sparks it's your consciousness. It's meant to expand what is your ideas in a deeper level, that there is like instead of just the normal functionality. So I think it's a beautiful loop, and I really enjoyed it. The project itself was actually the first of three. I don't know if I will find occasion, I will continue, simply because I really like this parallel of tribalism from prehistoric times up to these days. And I think there is some beautiful subjects and beautiful themes of what was really art, consciousness, and tribalism. If you think of through the eras, so if you think about early civilizations, if you think about further, and if you think about where we stand today, I think tribalism, it's has some really powerful positive and negative aspects in our lives, and it's so close to our nature. Simple as that.
Completely agree. And I think that is a perfect way to kind of cap off this part of the walk and talk. And I mean, from this conversation, it seems like there's definitely going to be a part two sometime soon. So I certainly look forward to that. But thank you again, David, for walking and talking with us. This was This was awesome. We really, really appreciate it. And also a big thank you to everyone here in the spaces and in the on cyber gallery that walked and talked with us over there. And again, I'll be posting this recording to the Art Focus YouTube channel. So I'll post that on Twitter once I get that uploaded in the coming days. So be on the lookout over there. And also check out some of our past walks if you haven't seen those yet too. So thank you again. Until next time, everybody, we will catch you on the internet. Goodbye for now.
Thank you so much, everyone. Much love, and thank you, Nuke.